welcome guys to an episode with Doomtel. Another year, another budget gaming PC video. This time we're going to be looking at some behemoths, some absolute amazing computers. Here I have two lists, Intel and AMD performance computers. These are just around $1,000 each, and they will give you the best bang for buck. In one case, you will actually get almost the same performance as other gaming PCs in terms of CPU, and in the other one, you will be getting a little bit more graphical performance and a little bit more workbench performance. So let's get into it. The first one is going to be the conventional build. This is the AMD build. It's a bit more conventional. It's a bit older of a build. So we're running a 6-core Ryzen 5 5500, which is a, last I checked, it was a Zen 3 architecture CPU. And so these ones will overclock a little bit more than the previous 4500. The overclock levels are just about 4.4 gigahertz, which is not bad for a Ryzen chip, as you guys know. And because this is a 6-core CPU that you can overclock quite a little bit, I decided to go with a Dark Rock 3 CPU cooler, which is currently at a very good deal at $60. This is a sub $150 CPU, and you're getting 6 cores for $100, so that is really worth it. I mean, that's cheaper than the CPU I have, so that's excellent. Next is the motherboard. I went for a B558 Pro because I've heard that it's a very good motherboard for what it is. It has a lot of the standard features that you expect from AM4, and it does have very good overclocking. It has Crossfire, which is excellent. Just lots of regular, almost X570-esque features that you can find on this board, and for a very good price at just under $200. That's perfect for what we're looking for. It's going to allow you to overclock your CPU just as much as you want to. And of course, when you do want to upgrade to something that has more cores or something that can overclock better, then this motherboard will allow you to do that. Next is RAM, so I went for cheap RAM. Of course, if you want to get B-die RAM, of course, is the best RAM chips that you can buy for DDR4. It can allow you to go up to 4500, 5000 megahertz. That will be a little bit more expensive, maybe in the $160, $180 range. But if you're going for the regular stuff, 2 times 8 gigabytes, you can get it to about $100. This is very good RAM for what it is. It will allow you to get to the max stock AMD performance, and if you do want to push it a little bit higher, it's also very doable. So very good RAM. For hard drive, I decided to go with just one hard drive. If you want to add more hard drives, that's definitely doable, but I decided to go with one boot drive, which is the QVO 1 terabyte, which is a pretty regular hard drive, but what's great about it is that it's very cheap for 1 terabyte. So that'll allow you to get lots of performance out of your Windows booting. And then I went for the only real choice you can get if you're talking about over 4 gigabytes of VRAM, and that's this GTX 1660 Super. Now, it's a very good graphics card. It's not the best compared to some of its older peers that were a bit cheaper and a bit nicer. And so the fact is, it's the only one I can actually put in this list. So that's the one you guys have here. Then I have put the cheapest case I could find, and I put a 650 watt power supply from Cooler Master. And I trust it's a good one, although I'm not 100% sure. And you can always check this using the PSU tier list that you can Google and find. And so this build is going to be about $1,000 with a mailing rebate just around $1,000, and it's a pretty good build. It has a lot of pros, although a lot of these parts are technically very old. And so now we're gonna go into the second build, which is the Intel build, and this one is a little bit more of a min-max into your CPU performance, and it'll allow you to spend a little bit more on your CPU and your RAM, and it'll pay off because of the increase in uh, gaming performance that you will eventually get if you do upgrade your graphics card, which I think most of us will. And so here it is. And another thing is that the wattage is very similar and the price is very similar. So those things are considered. So here is the Intel build. And right off the bat, you'll notice that I have an i3. And the reason why I chose this, the 12100F, is because this is an overclockable CPU, overclockable quad-core CPU. And these cores are so big that it allow you to really push the architecture to its limits, to 5.2 gigahertz, which is really the top end for 12th gen. You might hit a little bit more if you're on liquid cooling, but for air cooling, this is incredible. And I decided to go with an alternative to the Rock 3, a bigger alternative, which is the Fuma 2, which is a very, very large cooler. It's about the same size as its largest D15 and Dark Rock 4 competition. And so this is really worth it. And it's also a very quiet fan setup. I have my own. I have the Ninja 5, which is even a larger air cooler, and they're very quiet with their stock fans, so that's very good. So to overclock your i3, you need this motherboard or one of these motherboards that is suggested in the forums. So this one is the PG Riptide, and it's a M-ATX board. It has a little bit less SATA ports, but it makes up with its I/O, which is a bit better than the B550 Pro, and it has lots of M.2, which is good. It's not necessarily the best board you can get for, especially for a Z690 board. It's not great, and you can get DDR4 boards that are slightly better. Like for instance, for me, I went with I am going with a Z690 Tough Gaming because it supports DDR4. But because we're looking for a board that has an unlocked support for this locked processor, then we have to go with, we have a very limited stash of boards that we can pick up, and this is one of the cheapest ones with very good onboard features. And so to get this board running well, we had to go with some DDR5, and this one I am not sure if it is actually good for overclocking, but I do know that it's pretty much on par specs in terms of JetX stock. And so that should be totally fine. You should probably get around the same performance as your stock DDR4, which is fine. And it's only a little bit more, so that's actually a good deal. Now, if you were to go with some expensive DDR5, there is some SK Hynix setups that you can go with. I'm sure Patrick has their own. But I personally don't know the SK Hynix chips currently because I haven't really gotten into DDR5 overclocking. So the hard drive is the same, and keep in mind this hard drive, like, it's literally just an 860 Evo that they rebranded so to let the 870s go in. So these ones are really good, and they're because of that, they get a lot of cheap deals on them. So if you can find it for cheaper, that'll be good for you. Now is the graphics card. So this is I went for a cheaper graphics card, something that'll do 1080p, but not necessarily 4K or even 1440p. The 1660 Super is a bit better setup for that. But the great thing about the RX 6500 XT is that it is quite a bit cheaper than the 1660 Super, up to $40 cheaper, and it has more sales on it usually, although the 1660 Super can also have some sales because it is an older graphics card. But what's great about this one is it does some overclocking. It has a lot of overclocking legroom. It can almost overclock up to 3000 megahertz, which is excellent for a budget graphics card. And doing that, it will actually get very close to the 1660 Super in terms of performance. Between these two graphics cards, you can get between 10 and 20 FPS difference in 1080p, and of course the 1660 Super absolutely demolishes the other one in 1440p and 4K, but that's not so much a big deal. So This is a good graphics card, and I just chose it just to show you guys kind of the low end of the graphics cards market. You don't really want to go cheaper than that, because then you're going into a range where you could barely play esports at, a couple hundred FPS. The rest is pretty much the same, and you'll notice that the price is about the same. It's a bit more, but what the great thing is about this one is once you overclock it to 5.2 gigahertz, as many people have been doing, basically it becomes an absolute beast. And when you do want to change your graphics card, which I think most of us are saving up to buy these bigger and nicer graphics cards, what's amazing is this CPU will keep up with the the standards that you need. And so I definitely suggest this one if you're not scared of overclocking. This one is good even if you don't overclock because of the PBO, the performance boost. But this one is excellent once you do overclock it. It goes really up and beyond. It has almost i7 performance just overclocking it. Out of the box, this one has some of the best performance you could get for sub $100. It is excellent for workstation. I mean, this is almost as powerful. This CPU is almost as powerful as the one I have in mine, and mine was considered a server slash workstation CPU only a couple years ago. So it's definitely worthwhile looking at this one. And of course, AM4 is is going out the window, and so what that means is you might get some better deals on this one for this year than this one. I don't know if Black Friday will affect the prices here. I don't know if Boxing Day will affect the prices, but I think this one might be cheaper usually than this one. So that's my 2 cents on the matter. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it was informative, and have a good day.